everybody, and welcome to the Mega Gamecast. I'm Ryan Shepard. With me, I have Drew LaPointe.
What up, peeps?
And on the phone, we have Cy Cuddy.
How's it going, everybody?
Not bad. How are you doing, Cy?
Oh, I'm doing pretty well, Ryan. I'm just chilling, enjoying the beautiful weather we're having outside. It's about 56 degrees.
Yeah.
So, how are you guys doing today?
Pretty good. It is some unseasonal weather, which is nice because it was like -8 not too long ago.
Not
last
even
weekend,
a week
yeah.
ago. Not even a week.
This time last week, we'd be thinking about it being -8. So
Yeah, dude. Like literally a week ago, that's when you couldn't even go outside.
yeah, it was pretty cold.
New England, man. That's all we can say.
We're going to jump right into some discussions about games we're playing. And right off the bat, we're going to talk about Firewatch. Me and Cy have been...
Firewatch.
Isn't that what Cy's on this weekend for his job, too? Firewatch?
Yeah.
That was really good. I like that one.
Yeah, you have to admit, that was pretty good.
Yeah, that was
All right.
perfect.
That was good, and I agree. I am technically on Firewatch. But...
Dude, just because of that one time.
Yeah, just for a little backstory, there was one podcast we were recording, and all of a sudden he got a call from work that some building that he was responsible for had caught on fire.
Yeah, someone set a fire in the building.
Hold on. I want to put the record straight. It didn't get caught. The building didn't catch on fire. The fire alarm went off.
We're playing Firewatch. Both Cy and I have cyanide. That's not very good.
Cyanide?
Both Cy and I have...
Cy and myself.
Cy and Rye?
Both Cy and Rye. I'm going to start referring to myself in the third person.
Yep.
Have completed Firewatch, and I think we're both pretty positive on it.
I would say so, Ryan. I got this game Tuesday, and I beat it by Wednesday evening.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
This was... Actually, wait. Wasn't this... It was the previous week,
Yeah,
right?
it would have been the week before, yeah.
Yeah, I bought it the Tuesday it came out, and I beat it by Thursday, and I was pleasantly surprised by the game.
Yeah.
I was convinced by another friend and fellow gamer that he was downloading it, and he was really interested. And after doing some more research on it, I decided, you know what? It's a storytelling game, or a story mode game, and this sounds like something I'd be interested in.
Yeah.
So, right after work, sure enough, I downloaded it.
Yeah, so I was interested in it pretty much from the start. I thought it looked like a really cool, interesting story, basically, in a cool setting. And I just wanted to see how they, took that setting and, told an original story in it. And I think they did a really good job. We're not going to get into any spoilers here because the game is very, story heavy. But I'll kind of give a little overview of the game. So you play as Henry, who finds himself taking a job in the Wyoming wilderness to watch for fires. He has a watchtower out in basically the middle of nowhere, and his job for about 80 days is to watch the horizon for any signs of fires, wildfires, or anything else going on out there. And you're talking to Delilah, who's your boss and really only point of contact out there, over a walkie-talkie. And through the course of a few days, it doesn't go in order. Sometimes it jumps around, goes ahead a few days. You have this mystery going on. You're exploring this area. It's kind of an open world. There's pretty narrow places that you have to go down, but some of them are open up, and you can walk around freely throughout most of it. And finding clues to this mystery, you get this paranoid thriller vibe to it. And for me anyway, what really stood out is the conversation system between you and Delilah, which is something...
You mean the open dialogue, Ryan?
Yeah, the open dialogue. So you have a conversation with her, and then you have choices of what you say to her. It's kind of like a little bit like Mass Effect, where you can choose your tone of responses. So you can be, if she's joking around, you can engage in the joke. You can be kind of, be serious about it or not say anything at all. And that kind of has an impact on the way Delilah perceives you and the way some of the conversations pan out.
So kind of your relationship with her.
Yeah, it's kind of, but it isn't. So I did the comparison to Mass Effect, but it isn't as obvious. Like every time you chose like a Renegade or a Paragon choice in Mass Effect, you got like a notification right on screen, like you're a Renegade now or you're a Paragon.
Yeah.
And your physical appearance would change as well.
Yeah. In here, it isn't as obvious. Like it'll be subtleties in the way she talks, as opposed to like an on-screen prompt that says you chose this attitude or whatever it is. And
Your emotional response, an emotional response that generates a separate emotional response from Delilah is what we're talking about.
yeah, and I'd have to play through it again to find out exactly how much this impacts the overall story or the overall relationship between the two. But it's still interesting. It's telling the story, and this could have been a movie or a TV show, but because it's a video game, you have to have some sort of interaction. And I found this to be a really interesting way to tell a story without having a whole bunch of complicated gameplay get in the way of the story they're trying to tell, but also having it be engaging.
Yeah, and from someone who I've only seen some gameplay and watched some of Ryan's own rundown and stuff.
Yep.
And like to me, and I think a few reviewers have already said, like I find it very impressive that, well, I mean, for one thing, you for this kind of storytelling to work, the voice acting has got to be spot on and believable because you don't see Delilah or Henry's faces. It's a first person game. So I mean, to be able to evoke that kind of emotion and do it well,
Yeah.
Especially without facial expressions and whatever to back up what's going on. To pull that off, I think that's a truly, it's a feat to accomplish.
Yeah, this is without a doubt two of the best voice acting performances I've ever heard in a video game.
Yeah, and that speaks volumes.
I highly concur with that, definitely.
The game would have completely fallen apart if one of them hadn't been delivering their lines pretty much expertly. There are a couple of weird dialogue choices and things that, why would somebody say that? But all in all, it was spot on, perfect.
Definitely. No, you're absolutely right, Ryan. And just to add on for the viewers out there, Henry, don't call him Hank, by the way, is actually out in the wilderness following a very personal tragedy that happened in his life, and it's come to the point where he just had to get out of there, and he went to Wyoming to be out in the open and to be away from society. Also, to give effect, why they're using walkie-talkies is the game takes place in 1989. A little bit of the backstory is that the U.S. government put a lot in the Fire Forest Service because of numerous forest fires, so they had a bigger budget and they hired more watch crews. So, and it's another reason why I like this game, Ryan, and why I talk to you about this is that my cousins who actually live on the West Coast are both in the Forest Service, so it was amazing that I got to actually see something similar to what they've done, but it shows another. It really shows another point of view. I mean, us living out on the East Coast, we don't get to view what happens out in the forest area of the West.
I mean, every year you hear about huge forest fires and out west, and we don't really have anything like that on the East Coast.
Exactly. But going back to what you said, Ryan, the dialogue absolutely makes or breaks a game. And in this game in particular, it highly makes it. I love the dialogue and the emotional voice acting between the two characters. That definitely goes without saying. And I really like the mystery of the whole story because, I mean, and it adds really a type of spine-tingling thrill because, again, you're so engaged with this character who's out in the open. I mean, he's at a few points it's just so tense because he can't see anything except open wilderness. There's no one there to help him besides Delilah. So, who's on a mic, by the way, and is miles away. Yeah. So if something happens to this guy, like if he gets hurt, he's in big trouble. Not to mention the fact he's away from society. So it's really dog-eat-dog, survival of the fittest type story as well.
Yeah, I mean, it did an excellent job of playing with
Of really putting in the
isolation.
tension.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say.
Isolation and loneliness. And so I did write a review for this game. You can find it on thegamerholics.com. And you can check out the YouTube channel for a rundown video I did, which kind of explained the overall vibe of the game and what you can expect from it. But if you read the review, I go into a lot of detail about exactly how they constantly play on isolation and loneliness, because in a lot of ways, Henry is kind of a lonely guy after what's happened with his personal life, and he's out there literally all alone. So he's alone both physically and emotionally.
Yep.
And the conversations that he has with Delilah are really the only connection to anybody else he has out there. And it's kind of like, I compared it a little bit to like a long-distance relationship. Like if you're like talking to somebody on Facebook or chat groups or whatever, however you had instances of that throughout your life. And it's a lot like that. Like these people have never actually met. So
No, actually, Ryan, that's exactly what I was thinking. I think you made that point perfectly. It is because you don't see he barely, or I can't say, most of the game he doesn't see what Delilah is, and you don't see what Delilah is. You have to picture her through your minds.
Yep.
Just based on her character, what her personality is, but you can tell a lot of things. Like she definitely has a lot of strength, but she also has a lot of demons as well.
Yep.
And that's amazing. Just based on what that voice acting can do.
Mm-hmm.
But Ryan, I have to ask: do you have any criticisms about the game?
Yeah, I've got a couple criticisms. The map.
Yeah. Yes.
The map was a little weird to control, and I had a lot of instances where I would walk too far in one direction before I even realized I wasn't walking in the right direction. I didn't like how they constantly made you interact with like climbing ledges and stuff like that. I wish it would just automatically climbed over them instead of having you to press the button.
Right.
That's just a little quirk that I thought would have made the walking around a little bit smoother. And I guess the mystery, while necessary to kind of make you interested in continuing the game, I don't know. I don't want to get into too much of it, but I was kind of disappointed with the way it ended up.
So you thought the
together.
payoff wasn't? You thought the payoff wasn't worth it?
Yeah, specifically with the mystery. I want to make sure that I get it specifically with the mystery, because there's some people out there that are a little upset about the full ending of the game, which I wasn't at all. I thought it was a pretty great ending, and that's all I'll say about that.
All right, Ryan, I agree with you that the payoff may be a little bit down. I mean, I definitely agree with you about the map. Part of me just wanted the whole map to appear right before my face, or like in a transparent mode, so I can see where the hell I was going. But the other part thought, would that take away some of the realism? Because when you're out in the open, you can't just walk around with a map in front of your face and know immediately where to go. You have to plot your points out. You have to see what routes can take you where. Mm-hmm. So that's where I'm kind of flipping back and forth. One of the other issues I had, Ryan, for as enthralling as the game was and how involved I was with it, I thought it was too short to justify its price. Mm-hmm. I thought I didn't think it was worth the full $18. To be honest with you, if it was a little longer, I would fully agree with you. But I thought it should have been more like a $10 game.
Wait, how much did you guys? How long did it take you guys to beat it? Do you guys know?
It took me about between 4 and 5 hours.
Yeah, that's about as long as it took me as well.
Well, I just want to just put it in perspective, kind of devil's advocate. The Order 1886 came out $60. Took you about 6 hours to complete.
Yeah. Right? I mean, it's like... So,
that's all I'm saying.
I put a lot of emphasis on how long a game is as opposed in comparison to its price, but I also take into account so much more than that. Like, how much fun did I have with this game? Because a game could be hundreds of hours long, but if I'm bored playing it, then it doesn't matter. Or it doesn't matter how long it is. It's not worth any price tag. But I got, for the 4 or so hours I spent with this game, I got more enjoyment out of it than I have with, some of the longer, bigger open world games that have come out recently. Like, where they've kind of had a hard time telling a story.
Grow stale after a while.
Yeah, specifically having a hard time telling a story because I'm working something in my head about why open world games have such a hard time telling a story, and
it's that disconnect.
Yeah, it is. It's a disconnect. It's not
right.
You spend you do a few missions and then you go and you do some random shit, and then when you come back to the story, it's like
you might have forgotten about it.
You might have forgotten about it, and the story doesn't change based on what you just did.
Yeah,
like
the urgency isn't really there.
Yeah, there's no urgency, and there's no it isn't like you go in, you start a new mission in GTA, and somebody's like, "Oh man, that was cool how you jumped out of that helicopter and parachuted down and took out all those guys or whatever." Nobody mentions that, even though in real life somebody would have.
Yeah, exactly.
Would have been like, "Hey, you're the guy that did that," or whatever.
Well, I think what you're saying right now backs up my point that I've said in the past, that sometimes linear storytelling can definitely work to a game's benefit.
Yeah.
Without all those distractions, a straight point A to B kind of thing like this.
Yeah.
It keeps things focused, on track.
Oh, definitely.
But no, I can totally agree that 4 hours it's $20 now. It was $18 when it first came out. I could see how you could be a little upset about that. I'm not gonna say that you're wrong. That's for sure. So, Sai, you've also been playing the Hitman beta a little bit.
That is correct, Ryan. I was one of the many people, who pre-ordered the new Hitman game that's coming out on March 11th.
Yep.
It's the one that's going to be in episodic format, and I was able to experience the beta. And how do I say this? I do have a lot of good things to say about the game. The beta itself. It was very reminiscent of the old Hitman games that I played, which to me is a good thing. I mean, there was familiarity with it. Excuse me, but how do I say this? But it's still the same old fun. It's still you plotting these assassinations. It's you using stealth if you choose. It's basically just one big puzzle of patience and execution when it comes down, and you pun intended, I guess you can say too.
Yeah.
Based on what the game is, but
it's your own little playground of death and destruction.
But I can.
Well, you don't have to kill people though.
Well,
except for your targets. But you
yes,
get at least in Absolution.
It's difficult.
You got higher points, higher scores and missions for not killing non-target characters.
Yeah, so how does it compare to, at least in the beta, how does it compare to the last game, Absolution?
It's very similar, Ryan. I mean, it doesn't have, from at least what I experienced, it doesn't exactly have what do you call that assassination mode where you can kill multiple targets at the same time.
Talking about that point shooting.
Yeah.
Yes.
They got rid of that.
I don't know if they got rid of it, but it wasn't present in the beta. Now, is it possible it's going to be in with the game series? Yes, but I didn't see it in the beta.
Honestly, that was kind of a cheat button.
I didn't really like that.
To get you out of trouble sometimes.
So I didn't really play too much of Absolution, but I just popped it in to get ready for Hitman, the new one to come out. And I was surprised when that came up. It was like, really? This is like a, what was it, Splinter Cell had something like that.
Splinter Cell, tag people and then
you tag
shoot
people
them.
And then press the button. It's like bam, 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 dead.
Yeah, that's even easier than Max Payne, where things slow down. This thing just completely come to a stop, and you can just mark their heads. But obviously, you have a time limit to mark them.
I mean, I guess it kind of makes sense in the idea of an action movie where a hero would take out a bunch of guys before the other guys could even react.
Well, it looks cool.
Yeah, it looks cool, but to me, it just didn't fit in Hitman.
Yeah.
Well, right, because, Ryan, in the previous Hitman games, you really had to concentrate on stealth. and the whole point target system kind of took away some of that.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong, it was fun, but at the same time, it was, like you said, it just felt like it didn't really belong there. It felt kind of a little cheesy. I can tell you in this game, though, stealth is very much a factor. Like, even if you go into disguises, it's not a guarantee that someone is that one of the bystanders in the game isn't gonna look at you strange and be like, "Hey, wait a minute, this doesn't belong. Who the hell is this guy?"
Yeah.
So
In Absolution, like if you got changed into a disguise, like say you changed into a chef, other chefs would be wary of you. They're like, all right, this guy doesn't work with us. Or if you change into a cop uniform, the other cops would start looking at you weird. But it would be other.
In the beta, actually, Drew, not to interrupt you, that is prevalent. But some of those people in there will not recognize you. So it's really
they're randoms, right?
it felt random.
Yeah,
I watched some footage, and specifically if there was, I think it was like if they had a dot over their head, they were somebody that was going to be able to recognize you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
okay.
it didn't always have to be a security guy. It could be just a random, like a dock worker or a random guy walking around.
And that's if you're in that uniform.
Yeah.
Though. Because if you're in a police uniform, the mechanics per se aren't going to say, "Wait, you're not a police officer."
And that
but
makes
if you're a
sense.
mechanic, then yes, you could very well be pointed out as saying, "Hey, wait a minute, this guy wasn't with us.
Yeah.
What's going on?"
And that,
so
and that
they-
makes sense because it's like, of course, if these people were used to the same people coming and going, seeing a new guy, they'd be like, "Who's that?"
Yeah.
I mean, there probably should be more because it's like
Yeah.
I've never seen that guy before.
I agree. No, definitely. It does add a bit of realism to it. And of course, what I think we also like is the fact that voice actor David Bateson is once again voicing the iconic role of 47.
Yeah, no.
Also, another thing I
that
want to
voice
point
fits
out.
him. Yeah.
Yeah, the other thing I also want to point out, Ryan, is that the beta is a prequel. It takes place when 47 was first recruited by the agency.
Okay.
Oh, that's kind of cool. All right.
So is it a prequel to the entire series?
I don't know if the game is a prequel. I don't know if it was just if it's just limited to the beta, or if it's going to be the whole game in particular.
No, but
the beta definitely was.
Yeah, so what Ryan's asking, so that mission you played, that was a prequel since before the first Hitman game?
Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
All right,
So
all right.
it's like him starting out. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you're pretty keen on it. If you like Hitman, you'll probably like the new Hitman that's going to come out next month.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes, man.
And yeah, we'll see how that goes. Yeah, so I mentioned that I was playing through a little bit of Absolution. I'm probably not going to play through the whole thing, but Drew also played through the entire thing just recently.
Yeah.
How do you feel like...
Now, I want to just make clear, this was my first Hitman game.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking about going back and grabbing the HD trilogy to try out the originals. But, no, I thought it was fun. Like, I like the mechanics. You know, they're all pretty smooth. You know, it's pretty basic. The whole disguise mechanic, hide the bodies, and this and that. They give you a lot of different options to plot out, plan your kills. The story itself, it was all right. Definitely a lot of sadistic and mofos
Oh, really?
out in the story. Yeah, and even though like Agent 47's just a cold-blooded killer, like they still find a way to make him emerge like the lesser of the evils, I guess you can say. But yeah, I don't know, like you can kind of play that game as like a standard third-person cover shooter if you really don't care about your points and like you can just let the guys spot you, get into cover, grab your shotgun, and like take
Blast
out.
them.
Yeah, you can like clear the room. You'll get like the lowest score possible if you do that, but you'll still pass your mission. So I feel like what they did with Absolution is they kind of tried to cater to classic fans and tried to bring in more of a modern day twist to it.
Yeah,
and
that's always been
know.
something with Hitman, is that you could, if shit did go wrong, you still could complete the mission.
Yeah.
I remember that back with like Hitman 2, where sometimes you'd get caught, and then as long as you had like your silver ballers or whatever, you could just blast your way out of the environment and still complete the mission.
Yeah. So, like, I guess Absolution was when they first implemented, like, a cover system. And,
Yeah.
I think even a crouch button where you're in, like, a little stealth mode and stuff.
Yep, I noticed
Things
that.
like
Yep.
that you don't even have your silver ballers till, like, halfway through that game. There's a mission where you actually have to steal your silver ballers back from
Oh,
this
okay.
dude who stole them from you. So, I don't know, like, just going by that, and from what I've seen, it looks like the mechanics are going to be very similar for this new one.
Yeah.
So I could see myself definitely getting into the new one.
Was there cover in the beta, Si? Could you take cover?
Yes, there was, Ryan.
Okay.
It was. Yep, the cover is still is definitely still available in the game, and that's a good thing too.
Yeah, it
Yeah, I
makes
think
sense.
I don't think it can. I don't necessarily think you could have a Hitman game without cover based on the gameplay.
Yeah. Now you also played a little bit of
All right.
Bulletstorm.
Yeah, so I don't know. Last week for like $5, I picked up Deus Ex: Human Revolution, which I hadn't played.
Yeah,
And-
boy.
Bulletstorm, which was an EA game made by Epic, or published by Epic.
Yep.
And People Can Fly, I believe, was the name of the studio who made it.
Yep.
Dude, that I don't know what people know about it, but I just want to say, if anyone, I got it for literally $2 on the PS3. A blast, dude. Like it's all about what do they call it? They call the kill with skill.
Yeah.
So they give you like this weird little leash in one hand, where you can like lasso dudes to you, and then you kick, like, basically you leash them to you, and you can either kick them or shoot them. It brings them into a slow motion, and you can kick them against like spikes, and they'll call that like a voodoo kill, or kick them off a cliff. They'll call that vertigo, and also you have an assortment of weapons. So you have all these, options on how to kill dudes, and the more different ways you kill them, like you rack up these different point figures, and that's how you upgrade your weapons as you go. So I don't know. I just think it's a blast.
Yeah, I played a little bit of it, and I had a lot of fun.
Deus Ex. I've only played about an hour or so. So far, so good. I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah,
I can
we'll
see
talk
what,
a lot about Deus Ex when the new one comes out. That's
yeah,
for sure.
That's kind of what I'm doing.
Oh, I
Preparing,
can't wait.
preparing
Some
for the new
comparisons
one.
and stuff like that. So the last thing I want to talk about before we wrap it up here is indie game coming out. Probably by the time you hear this, it will be out on Steam and Xbox One. It's called The Flame and the Flood, and this is a survival game. A lot like, think about like Don't Starve. In fact, it's a lot like Don't Starve, where you're going around, you're collecting resources, and you have to worry about hunger, thirst, and your health. And, you have a limited inventory space and everything like that. It's got a really good artsy graphic style to it that I really like. And you got a companion, you got a dog following you around everywhere that he can share your load. You can give him some stuff, and he'll like run over and bark at things that you can collect that you may miss. But what's really interesting about it is you go to these areas, like there'll be a camp or a farm or whatever, and they're all separated by a river. So you have to get on a raft, and you actually control your raft down this river. You have to watch out for obstacles, and because your raft will take damage, you can get hurt. You can like break your leg if you hit into too many obstacles. And then as you're going down this river, you get the little icons that start popping up that like, hey, there's a forest over here that may have supplies. There's a farm over here that may have supplies.
Now, is this like a first person?
No, this is it's like top down.
Okay, all right.
Kind of, it's fixed camera.
Yep. Okay.
And so you're going down the river, and you're like, oh, there's a forest over there. I want to go over to the forest because there's something there I might need. So you start working your way over there. You dock, and you scavenge for stuff like water and food and supplies and things like that. And then you get on the raft again, and you go down, keep going down. And the mode that I was playing was survival, like endless survival mode. But there's going to be a campaign. It wasn't available yet. With the early access code. So I'm going to see what that's like and update my impressions of that. But I liked how the game was so far. Like, it's a good management game, like trying to survive. And with the interesting mechanic of going down the river and choosing which area you go to. Like, if you want to go to this area, you want to go to that area. you have those choices as opposed to, just wandering around a big environment or something like that, like a Don't Starve.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think there'll be a review of that up on the gamerholics.com. Definitely content on the Mega Gamecast channel.
And this is PC only?
PC and Xbox One.
Okay.
And I think it's coming Windows and Mac.
All right.
Gamepad support on PC, so if you're a gamepad user, you get that. Yeah, I'm gonna dive into it a lot more though. I just wanted to get my initial impressions out there. So if this comes out after the game comes out, you can take my opinion of it and maybe pick it up.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, well that's gonna wrap up this episode. You can follow us everywhere. I'm Ryan Shepard _ on Twitter.
LA Drew 87.
And Real Sock Cut.
You can get us on the Gamerholics Facebook group. You can comment on the YouTube channel. You can send us questions at megagamecast.tumblr.com. And that's going to do it.
All right. Good talk, peeps.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Thanks, everybody.